Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've known for the past few weeks of Donald Trump's surge in Arizona. We've got internal people saying Donald Trump very likely to win Arizona. When you look at the big seven swing states, Arizona seemingly is the one trending most in either direction, and that's trending towards Donald Trump. You can see recently we've got Trump at around a 66% chance to win the state, according to betting. And if this will update here, you can see recently Trump has really expanded his lead. But even here, I mean, since late August, when it was basically a toss-up, you've got Trump up to around a 2/3 chance to win the state. And again, it's not just the betting. You take a look at the polls, you take a look at the combination of Harris and the liberals really not investing. She did do a town hall last night, but not investing a ton of time in Arizona and Nevada. You look at the Sun Belt, it seems to be swinging to Donald Trump, and it's not just Arizona and the 11 electoral votes. It's also even Nevada, which was kind of seen recently as the one swing state that you could argue was swinging maybe in the direction of Kamala Harris based on the polling. Well, there have been some recent polls that have come out, maybe a few outliers, but Trump has been up in a number of them, and I wanted to see if it had really had an effect on the betting, and it has had at least a little bit of an effect. You did have a Democrat, Kamala Harris, lead of about 4 or 5 points. It's been cut to basically a tie. You can see basically 50-50 at this point when you look at the state of Nevada. So we're seeing the trend where Arizona, Nevada, especially Arizona, trending to Donald Trump. Trump, the heavy favorite, I wouldn't say heavy, but the clear favorite in Arizona. And possibly, if you look at the recent polls, a few polls where they update all 7 swing states, Trump's got like a 5-6 point lead in a few polls in Nevada. I don't think that's going to happen in terms of what actually happens on election night. I think Nevada could be, if you look at the 7 swing states, you could make an argument it's the closest out of all of them. It's also the least important in terms of electoral votes. But still, you're talking about 6 electoral votes, and I did see a map here that, honestly, I really agree with pretty much everything here. When you look at the popular vote, Trump losing it by a point, that seems pretty realistic, 47.6 to 46.6. Obviously, if that happens to where he loses the popular vote by just one single point, it's going to be, you would figure, a relatively easy electoral college victory, and you do have Trump winning every swing state here, and it being split basically exactly how I expect it to be split, with Trump taking every single swing state. Nothing really surprising happening. Trump not taking Virginia, although some people think maybe there's a chance there. It's probably not going to happen. Not taking Minnesota, although it should be close. Maybe 4 or 5 points. We've seen some recent polls there. And we'll take a look at the polling in both of these states. The recent polls in Arizona do have Trump up by 0.5 point. You've got a few polls that have Trump up by 2. You've got the Wall Street Journal that has Harris up by 2. There was that USA Today poll that had Trump up by 6, but recently we're seeing a very nice trend in Trump's direction with many of these polls. I guess the Emerson is not in the aggregate anymore. That was Trump +3, so that might be bringing him down a little bit in terms of this, but I would still say Donald Trump is polling, especially relative to where he was in 2020, well in Arizona. Arizona was very, very close. This date in 2020, Biden was sitting +2.7. You take a look at that final result. Listen, people don't remember 0.3 because Fox News called it really early and there was all that mess. Biden won it by 0.3. The final average was 0.9 for Biden. So when you look at the final average, that state was polled pretty well. Right now you've got Trump sitting +0.5, obviously very close, but it wouldn't surprise me if we saw more positive movement in Trump's direction when it comes to Arizona. And then taking a look at Nevada, you do now have Donald Trump because of that Wall Street Journal poll with him being up by 6 with a very, very slight lead. But look at the comparison. This state in 2020, Biden was sitting +6. What was the final result there? It was Biden +2.4. So he underperformed that pretty significantly when you look at the final result versus where we were this time in October of 2020. So Trump's made up significant ground there, and he's also made up ground when you look at 2016. The final result there was also 2.4. So this has been a Democratic state during the Trump years by around 2 points. It's a state that Trump can certainly flip for sure. And there is that positive poll. Again, we'll have to see if that's just a one-off. I would certainly not expect Trump to win the state by 5 or 6 points. I think that's a bit ridiculous. But like even the recent polls that have Harris up, it's very, very close. 3 points, 1 point, Trump up by 1, Harris up by 1. It's a state that Donald Trump can certainly win. And I would say right now, you'd probably say about 50-50 chance when you talk about this state in the Sun Belt. And then you look at Arizona being around a 65% chance things are looking pretty good right now. And that's an important 17 electoral votes. You get that. It makes it that much easier. Obviously, we know how important North Carolina and Georgia are, but still, you can take Nevada. You can take Arizona. It just makes it all the more easier. And you can see, I mean, Harris was sitting +1. I mean, these are just all of these states are just so tight. They're so close, which you would figure is good news based off of the polling error that Trump normally gets. At least he's gotten in 2020 and 2016. Liberals will argue there's going to be a correction, but you can't really predict a correction. They'll say, well, look at the midterms. Well, the midterms are totally different. Trump's not even on the ballot in the midterms. How are you comparing midterms to a general election? That's just straight cope. So this is something that would not surprise me at all, where you look at it, Trump sweeps all of the swing states, wins all 7 of them. Nevada ends up being like a half-point victory for Trump. Trump wins Arizona by like 2.5 points. Trump wins Wisconsin by like 1.5 points. Trump wins Michigan by like 0.7. Trump wins Pennsylvania by like 1 point. Trump wins Georgia by like 2 points. Trump wins North Carolina by like 1.5 points. Like, that's the margins we're looking at, and then possibly losing the popular vote by just a point or maybe even under a point, like 47 to 46, 48 to 47, 48.5 to 47.5, something like that. That would be my expectation when it comes to that. And then we've got this clip. Let's see these liberals school us on tariffs and why Trump's big bad tariffs are horrible. These are the same people that endorse an administration that's led up a 25% inflation rate. But no, the tariffs are going to ruin us. That's where I draw the line. We can have a 25% inflation rate, but if I have to pay 25 more cents for toothpaste because it's produced in the United States, that's so bad. Let's see what they have to say about the Trump tariffs.
So when it comes to Trump, do you dislike his policies or him as a person or both?
I don't dislike Trump as a person in the sense that I've never met the guy. So I think he has a lot of personality traits that make him completely unsuited to being president. And also, I think his policy prescriptions, to the extent that they exist and he understands them, which is a different part of it. A lot of the stuff Trump talks about, he still doesn't know how tariffs work. We're 8 years into this thing, 9 years in. He still thinks China pays the tariffs when they're paid by American companies.
Yeah, I've seen him talk about tariffs.
Very confused.
Well, China indirectly gets hurt by tariffs. That is correct. American companies, the reason you do tariffs is you force the American companies to build their product in the United States, so we're not reliant on overseas shipments. We saw this exact same thing happen with the pandemic. So yes, China indirectly gets hurt when you put tariffs on it, and it does hurt the American companies because we're trying to not have the American companies outsource the jobs to China because it's cheaper. That's the whole point. So then if you put the tariffs on them, then they'll be more incentivized to make their goods in the United States. And again, these people, it's real rich to talk about. The entire argument against tariffs from liberals is that, oh my God, they're going to produce their products in the United States. They're not going to be able to use the Chinese slave labor, and it's going to drive up the cost. Oh my goodness, you're the same party that's led up 25% inflation. Now you're going to school us and pearl clutch about our goods costing too much? Really? That's real rich. Where was this energy when you had a 25% inflation rate under Biden? That's what it is. It's 20 to 25% on pretty much everything. So spare me the pearl clutching from liberals about tariffs hurting American companies. Yeah, we don't want them outsourcing everything to China, so we're relying on China. China's already come out and said they've got a plan. They want to pass the United States economy. Why do we keep letting them? And it's obviously because of the slave labor and it's cheaper. You have to do something to have more product made in the United States, and tariffs are a way to do that, even if it costs a little bit more. And a lot of the times, by the way, see, they just look at it in a vacuum. They don't really understand that when you put the tariffs on and you got all these companies now producing stuff in the United States, because of capitalism and competitiveness, they're going to drive their prices down just by default because of the market. So, but these smug guys, Trump doesn't know what he's talking about. He's only a multi-billionaire. He doesn't know how tariffs work. It's bad for American companies. Yeah, no shit. That's the whole point. We don't want American companies outsourcing for slave labor because it's cheaper. No shit. That's the whole point. And it's like, this dude's an Einstein. Oh my God, he's going to school us on tariffs. Like it's just, and these are the same people at 25% inflation rate, man. Is that good for American consumers to have a 25% inflation rate? So our purchasing power is worth 20 to 25% less than it was in 2020. Oh, but no, the toothpaste might cost 30 more cents because it's not being made in Gloggendong. No, you're right. You know what? We'll deal with the 30. We'll deal with 50% inflation, right? As long as our toothpaste can be made in Dong and it costs 10 cents less. That's a lot better. But it's like, you see the hypocrisy. Oh my God, my toothpaste is going to cost 10 cents more. We vote, but don't worry about the 20% inflation rate. We vote for Kamala. We've only had, and remember, this is the same Kamala who said she's not going to do anything different than Biden. The inflation rate is their fault. And they're still trying to school us on, with Trump's big bad tariffs, he's going to hurt the American consumer because the companies are going to have to drive their prices up because they're going to have to pay people a real living wage rather than outsourcing to China for mass production, where the Chinese workers there make, like, they're in sweatshops, they make nothing. But no. We'll deal with the 25% inflation rate as long as my toothpaste gets made in Beijing and costs 3 cents, and there's a net surrounding the building when people, try and, I mean, that's what's going on with this. But that's the thing with these tariffs and these people. It's just experiment. It's just ridiculous.
God, we have trouble with moderate biological males. I mean, who is surprised about this?
No, it's like you say you hate men, and then you're like, why won't men vote for us? What if he said that? It's like they hate the liberals. Their viewpoint is they hate white men. And now they're crying that white men won't vote with them, and that white men are racist. I mean, I don't know what to say to that. But that's basically
Democratic Party elites like Obama and like others have been viciously attacking Donald Trump since 2016. And everything they've said about him is what they have always said about him. And I don't think it's particularly effective right now.
It's the same script.
I think their problem isn't attacking Trump. Their problem is finding reasons to give people to support Kamala Harris. This stop he made in this plea he's making to African-American men. I mean, he said today he insulted them. I mean, he, first of all, admits that they're not enthusiastic about her. He said, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president, and you're coming up with other alternatives and reasons for that. And I think
that's total crap. It really doesn't even have anything to do with it at this point. She's just not qualified. And the fact that Obama said that is an insult. It's like saying you're too stupid to know. Oh, it's pathetic. So, I mean, they're real desperate at this point, and they know they're going to lose, and that's why they're trotting Obama out, and he's desperately trying to talk to black men. It's real sad. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.